Today I'm going to be answering the most common question that I've been getting regarding the Yozma IN10 Pro, which is what is the max capability of this bike with the stock 60 volt battery in place? So I've had this bike for a couple months now, and I kind of jumped straight to a 72 volt battery 20 miles into ownership just to see if it performs drastically different with the stock controller in place. But in my opinion, it's not really worth going to 72 volts if you're going to keep the stock controller, just because it's only able to do 80 amps continuous 260 phase. But it did go noticeably faster. I believe the fastest I've gone so far is 52 miles per hour. But just for perspective, I'm 180 pounds, and this bike with the stock tune and the stock 60 volt battery goes 45 miles per hour on flat ground. But is 7 miles per hour really worth it for a $700 battery purchase? So I decided to put the stock 60 volt battery back in and mess with the tune a little bit to see if we can get similar performance with the stock battery. So in case you're not too familiar with the differences between the new IN10 Pro and the original model, this is a much larger bike. It's got the 17-inch front and 14-inch rear wheel set with knobby tires on there. It's even got longer and beefier front suspension fork, longer rear swing arm to create enough clearance for the larger rear wheel. It's also got a higher capacity battery. This is a 60 volt, 26 amp hour with an 80 amp continuous output. The controller is also a little bit stronger. It's still a Fardriver, so you're able to get a Bluetooth dongle, connect to it, and make changes to the stock tune. Surround style full twist throttle, hydraulic brakes using dot fluid. It's also got larger brake calipers than the smaller bike. The front rotor, I believe, is a 220 millimeter rather than a 190. Unlike the smaller bike, this one also has a built-in taillight with a functional brake lamp, and it also has a reverse feature. If you want to get more information on the new Yasma IN10 Pro, I'll leave a link to their listing in the description below. You can also get yourself 5% off this bike using discount code PATOutdoors. This is a Bluetooth dongle that I have connected to this white 4-pin connector above the battery. I think I got this for like 20 bucks on Amazon. But you need one of these connected so you can connect to the stock controller and make some changes to the tune using the Fardriver app. Let's open up the Fardriver app just so you guys have an idea how I have the tune set up. So it should be this WC60V 80A81CZ. Click on that, go to Paris. This will go over the simplified version of the settings. But if we go into Open Pro NBLE, here you should be able to access the more advanced settings. And before we continue, I am not a professional by any means. I'm just sharing what I decided to do and what I'm experimenting with. So please don't ask me for any tune settings for your Yasma. But this is what I'm doing for my stock battery IN10 Pro. I have rated speed at 3604 RPM. Weak response I set to 1, and I changed the ratios and speed so they're all at 100% all the way to 3000 RPM. Then at 3500, I started tapering it down from 90, 85, 80, 70, all the way down to 10 at 8500. So I'm just going to do a quick sweep of all my settings, and then we'll move on to riding. So with that tune, it appears to be hitting the same speed as it did with a 72 volt battery, at least without any load on it. But we'll see how it actually performs on the road. And the setting might look a little bit different than my usual videos. We're actually at my new property where I acquired over 20 acres of land, so we can do further testing like this. Guys, we made the Yasma IN10 Pro faster with just tuning the stock controller and making changes to the ratios and speed. It's only a couple miles per hour faster than it was with the stock tune, but with that being just a few miles per hour slower than with the 72 volt battery with the stock controller, I kind of don't think it's worth going 72 volts unless you do the Fardriver ND72300. Or maybe like an ND72450B. I'm not sure if this is actually a encoder or Hall motor. I'm assuming it's Hall, kind of like the smaller one. So my buddy Elmer actually just got here, so we're gonna go out in the trails. He's gonna be riding my RTR. We're gonna see how the IN10 Pro performs at our new property. This house that my wife and I just purchased came with over 20 acres of land and 13 acres of it being in the woods with some trails already built in. So I'm super excited, and we're gonna be using the IN10 Pro as a baseline to get an idea how fast we can go around this loop. Then I'm going to use that time as a comparison for all the bikes that we're going to be testing from now on, including the ETM RTR. I still don't know what to call our property.
That's a good question. Leave in the comments, what should we call this?
All right, let's go. Almost ate shit there. Locked up the rear brake too much. This thing is peppy though. All right, round 3, we're gonna give this another shot, see how fast we can go around this loop. I'm gonna use the Insta360 app as a timer. You ready?
Yep.
2, 1, go. I think 5,500 watts with the bigger wheel set is a perfect combo. I'm gonna call that 1 minute and 49 seconds. Obviously, I'm gonna put the real time up on the screen, but that gives me a good idea of a starting point for how these bikes should be performing in the woods. I don't think I'm gonna get as fast of a time on the smaller bikes with the 1412 wheel set. So the bikes I'm referring to are like the Tudio Soleil, the Yozma IN10, the smaller one, the Hay Bike Villain. Though I think the ETM RTR, at least the way this one's configured, is pretty fast. I think that's putting out over 8,000 watts with the 6.7 kit installed, 72 volt battery. It's also got a 1412 wheel set, but the geometry and suspension on that thing is just so good.
This bike was meant for stuff like this.
Right, but something to keep in mind though is these two bikes are not really priced the same. That bike as it stands with a 6.7 kit, high-speed motor, and a 72-volt battery, that bike is almost $4,000. And this is completely stock. Obviously, I made a few changes to the Fardriver settings, but it is completely stock otherwise, and this sits at right above $2,000. That said, I do want to ride the ETM RTR, hopping right off this bike, just so I have a fresh perspective and
a good comparison on a high-end bike, if you will, versus like more of a budget bike.
Exactly. Get off my bike. I'm going to try it out.
Real quick, what's the power on this again? Is it that's not the same, is it?
No, that's 5,500 watts, and this is currently 8,000 watts.
Okay.
Let's see how it compares to the IN10 Pro. Bike makes so much torque with the 6.7 kit. It's definitely a little bit rougher on the roots with a smaller wheel set. So this bike definitely makes a noticeable amount more power than the Yasma IN10 Pro in its current configuration, but one thing you could definitely use is a larger wheel set just to be able to absorb some of the roots that we have on the trail. I think it'll ride a little bit smoother. I definitely prefer this bike over the smaller Yasma IN10, though that IN10 Pro does feel smoother on the trail than this bike. I wish I could stick this powertrain in the IN10. Then that would be the perfect bike. So Yasma, if you're watching, please make a 72 volt version of the IN10 Pro. I think it would be a really good seller to bridge the gap between the smaller bikes and the bigger ones. So there were a couple moments when I was going around the track that I had to definitely lay off the throttle and pick my line carefully just to get through something with the RTR, where I would just plow through it with the IN10 Pro because of the larger wheel set. But if we're comparing these two bikes in stock form, and this only made 5 kilowatts and that made 5,500, but it's got the larger wheel set, longer suspension and whatnot, I think I would have gone with the Yasma IN10 Pro, at least for what we're doing out here on the trails. Yeah. I can put the larger wheel set on the RTR to make it ride like the IN10 Pro on the rougher stuff, but we're talking another $350 on top of all the other modifications that I've already done here, which will put this bike in a different price category. I'd almost have $2,000 more on my RTR Lite on top of what a stock IN10 Pro would be. I think if Yasma just made a 72 volt version of the Pro and made it, I don't know, even $400 or $500 more with a slightly stronger mid-drive motor, maybe the Fardriver ND72300, and offer it in a 7,000, 8,000 watt configuration for, let's say, $2,600, I would buy it tomorrow. So Yasma, if you're watching this video, get to work and make the 72 volt IN10 Pro. Hey, you want to drag race across the field?
Yeah.
I kind of want to see which bike's faster. Are you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh man. thought he was gonna crash my bike. You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. No! You all right?
You saw that?
You hit a bump towards the end, huh?
If I wasn't standing, I would have ate shit.
Yeah. So that's why I was standing on the pegs, just kind of hovering over my seat.
Yeah.
It's because with this smaller wheel set, if you go over a dip like that, the back can really buck you forward. All right, we're gonna head out of here because we actually got to go to Electric RVA in Richmond to pick up my brand new Sur-Ron Ultra B, which is one of my dream bikes that I've been talking about getting for the last year. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you like this kind of content, want to keep up with the Yozma IN10 Pro or any of my other projects, make sure you stay tuned to this channel and turn your bell notification on. But this is going to be it for today. Thank you for watching.